Here we go again, still on that pursuit for the perfect Wi-Fi security camera. This time around, we're testing a camera from Foscam. Foscam's been around since 2007, makes a wide variety of security camera products, and we're going to check out one of their solar-powered cameras. Let's get to it. What up, everybody? George Langabeer here. Yeah, once again, we're talking Wi-Fi security cameras. This time around, we're talking about one from Foscam. Now, Foscam's been around since 2007. And a fun fact, SilverHammer surveillance started in 2008. And way back when I was looking for stuff to sell, I approached Foscam and tried out some of their stuff. And I gotta tell you, what I tried back then, I was not a fan. So I thought, all these years later, they're still in business. Something's gotta change, right? I thought I'd give them another shot. So when they reached out to me, I said, yes, I'd try your product. So they did send me this camera. This is the B4 solar-powered pan tilt camera, but this is not sponsored. And I promise you, sent to me or not, this one, I'm gonna tell it like it is, because this was a very interesting experience, to say the least. And are they back in my good graces? Well, we're about to find out. But please stick around to the end, because I want you to see the pros and the cons before you buy this camera. But I am going to unbox it. I'm going to talk the price and specs. I'm going to give you my full review. I'm going to skip the Foscam app, and I'm going to talk about that in a moment. But first, let's get to the unboxing. All right, let's talk price and specs. This camera is $75.99 on Amazon, but there is currently a 15% coupon. If you go straight to the Foscam app, you can get the camera for $69.99. It operates on your 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi. This is a wireless battery camera, but does include a solar panel, so it's a solar-powered camera. We got 2K or 4 megapixel resolution. We've got two different night vision options. We've got color with a spotlight, or we've got black and white using IR, and it's 33 feet of night vision. We've got PIR human detection. We've got two-way audio, and I'm going to show you an example. This is a pan tilt camera. We've got 355-degree tilt horizontally and a 90-degree tilt vertically. It has an IP65 weather rating, so this camera can be used outdoors. You've got two storage options. You can use local storage up to a 256 gig SD card, or you can also do cloud storage. This camera is compatible with Google Home and Lady A from Amazon. Sadly, no Apple Home. All right, that was the price and the specs. Now, this whole video is very interesting to me because I promised Foscam I'd give it a fair review, and that's what I'm trying to do. They were so nice, and I really appreciate them sending me this camera. But man, this was an interesting experience. So I'm going to alter my path a little bit, because normally I'd talk about the setup and install in great detail, the app in great detail, and then my pros and cons. But I'm just going to kind of breeze over it, because you'll know what I mean when I get to the cons. Setup and install, that was a pro. Both were within 5 minutes. So you get the Foscam app, you sign up for an account, you basically scan a QR code on the camera, you put in your Wi-Fi information, and you're good to go. Now, installation, same thing. You've got the solar panel and the camera, couple screws on the solar panel, couple screws on the camera. You plug the two together with the cable, and that's it. Installation was under 5 minutes. Setup was under 5 minutes. After the setup, I updated the firmware, because at first the camera was working pretty well, but then it went downhill from there. So normally next I'd go into the app, but I'm going to tell you one of the main cons that I'm going to get to in a second prevented me from even really exploring the app for this review anyway. I had a little bit of time with it, but not enough to where I could show it to you. But let's give a few pros before we get to those cons, just because I want to give that fair review. Okay, pro number one is the price. For a pan tilt Wi-Fi camera that's solar powered, you've got the solar panel and the camera. In theory, the price is a pro. The solar panel in general is a pro. I think that's the way all cameras should go. It eliminates all the wiring. It's good for the environment and the earth. We should go more solar powered cameras all the way, man. And I like Eufy, where they've got them built in. That's what we need to head to. So it's all in one nice, tidy package. This has got the separate solar panel, and that's fine. But anyway, solar panel's a plus. 2K resolution, that's where every camera should be right now. 2K or 4K, 8K is coming. We should never have 1080p right now. I say this all the time, but this is 2K, so that's good. Night vision options. It's great that you have two. Now this is a pro and a con, and I'll mention that con in a second. But the pro is that you have two different options. One's color with a spotlight, and one's black and white with IR. So if that spotlight starts to bother your neighbors or whatever, you can always kick it back to the black and white IR. This has got an audible alarm, so you can scare somebody to death, and go ahead and listen to it. It's actually a pretty decent alarm. Yeah, so it was pretty loud. Testing it at his apartment, I kind of worried about that a little bit, but oh well. I think people around here are used to it. It's great that this camera has a free storage option. They've got the free storage and the cloud option. If this was more of a positive review, I'd go detailed into the cloud options, but again, you just wait. And this is a pro and con for this specific camera, the pan tilt. Great in theory that it has that option, but here we go with the cons. You'll know what I'm talking about in a second. Man, oh man, where do I start with the cons? It's quite the list, but there are two big ones we're going to get to at the end. But I'm going to start with the night vision. Now, the night vision was a pro in the fact that there were two different options, but at 33 feet, that's not much of a distance. Fine here at my building because I've got parking lot lights and building lights, but if you've got a dark backyard, 33 feet's not going to get you much. Two-way audio. This is not just Foscam. You've heard me say this before. This is a big problem with almost every Wi-Fi camera I've ever tried. This one's no different. Two-way audio can be so important. It's one of the most proactive ways to use cameras. Scare somebody in your yard before they even get to the house. You could use that speaker if it was good enough. This one's not. Take a listen.
Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? How does it sound? Testing.
All right, moving on to the events, and I'm talking about the detection. This has got human detection, vehicle detection, pet detection, gun detection, fire detection, all very cool in theory. New for the gun detection, that's pretty awesome, but it's got to work. Now, I find that the human detection works some of the times, but anytime something moved on this camera, I got alerted that there was a human and there was no human. When vehicles would pass, I'd get alerted for a human, no human, a vehicle. Once in a while, I would get the correct vehicle alert. But pets, we've got a dog walking area right outside of our door. I never once was alerted for a pet out there. Now, I didn't try the gun detection and the fire detection. Thank goodness I didn't need that. But man, the events, it's great in theory that they're there, but they don't work. And when you get notifications for those events, so it alerts you that there's a person, you press on it, it takes you to the list, but it doesn't take you to that current event. And that could be a problem. If you have a prowler outside and you want to go straight to them, you shouldn't have to go that extra step of going to the list, then finding the right one and pressing play again. So I don't like that. I don't like cameras where you have to hit a play button, especially this one, which we're going to get to in a moment. But I want to go to an app. I want to see my cameras live right away. I don't want to have to hit play. The solar panel connector, if you're not careful, and that's the wire going from the solar panel to the camera, you've got to make sure that's snug because it's very easy to not have it snug and then it just disconnects and you're screwed. Now, this is a battery camera and it will still continue to work as long as the battery doesn't die, but to keep it charging with that solar panel, make sure that connector is snug. I also wish they would have made it a little more weatherproof. Even though this is a Foscam product, it does not work with the Foscam DVRs, which I wish it did. It does not work with RTSP, and it does not work with Blue Iris. With these Wi-Fi type cameras like Foscam, I get a lot of requests in the comments, does this work with Blue Iris? People love Blue Iris. This camera does not. Broken record on this one, no Apple Home. We got Google Assistant, we got Lady A from Amazon. Now, this isn't necessarily Foscam's fault. I know Apple's very strict on their HomeKit Secure Video and HomeKit cameras, but I feel like a broken record. I'm sick of being a broken record with these cameras not having Apple Home. Hopefully Matter adding security cameras as a category will fix that one day soon, but for right now, it sucks. All right, now we're getting into the granddaddy of my issues with this camera. Number one, this is a pan tilt camera, which in theory should be fantastic, but the hand tilt controls absolutely positively suck. They're so laggy, so you'd press, nothing would happen. You'd press, nothing would happen. You'd press, nothing would happen. Then all of a sudden, it would overcompensate for those presses. It'd be somewhere looking where I didn't want it to be looking, like in the wall where it's not supposed to look at all. And then while something outside was happening, I missed it because I was trying to overcompensate back, and then it still wouldn't work to turn it back. It was just a mess. Now, maybe 5% of the time, all of a sudden, that pan tilt control would start working properly. But I'm talking 5% is being generous. Otherwise, the pan tilt controls suck on this camera. But the number one con, and this was a big one, this made this the most frustrating experience I've ever had testing a camera, and I've been doing this for a long time. The connection issues. And keep in mind, I know every way to troubleshoot these cameras known to man, starting with the modem reset and the router reset. I know all that, but I know a ton of other stuff to do too, because I'm a professional. Nothing I did solved the connection issues with this camera. I've got gigabit internet, I've got fiber internet, I've got the top of the line Orbi system. I have no problems since I put that Orbi in here with any of my devices. Zero problems for the first time in my life. But this camera, even though it's like 3 feet from one of my satellites, did not work. In fact, a lot of the reasons that I can't show you some of this stuff, like the app, is because even though I got to try it briefly myself, I couldn't get to try it long enough to actually screen record it and talk about it while I was doing it, because I couldn't get the camera to connect. Last night, for example, I kept checking throughout the night as I wake up, and this camera was disconnected for 8 hours. It briefly came on this morning. I luckily got a long enough where I could test the alarm and the two-way audio for you. But as soon as I got done with those tests, bam, it was gone again. So I'm really lucky to even get those tests done. So, I talked about the play button. You go to hit that play button, and it says it's loading, and it's got a percentage building. And you'd think once you get to 100%, it would play. Never. Hardly ever did it actually play. And it's so irritating. Now, luckily, if you bought this, it's not that expensive if you have to trash it. But, man, it makes it worthless. When I'm talking about peace of mind of a security camera and being proactive and protecting my loved ones and my family, I do not want a camera that's going to be offline this much. I'm sorry. And it sucks because the people at Foscam were so nice. I appreciate them sending this to me. I wanted to be fair. That's why I even gave you some pros. But man, for as long as I've been doing this, I've never been so disappointed. It's crazy. So this is my second time with Foscam. Both times failed miserably. And I always heard they kind of filled that sweet spot in between the drug dealer cameras, Swan, Night Owl, Lorex, and Reolink. And I thought Foscam was right in between. That's what everybody always told me. And I thought since 2007 that maybe they'd improved, like I said at the beginning of this video. But if this is any indication, man, I was right the first time around, and I'm sorry about that. It sucks. But it is what it is. I'll stick with my professional grade stuff like ALIBI and Reolink to a certain extent, but man, go professional. I always say you wouldn't buy cheap siding, you wouldn't buy cheap windows on your house. Why would you buy cheap cameras? Well, this is a perfect example of you getting what you pay for. And I've been looking for that perfect Wi-Fi security camera. I 100% guarantee you, at least in my experience, this is not it, my friends. It's not it. So I cannot, in good conscience, recommend this camera in any way, shape, or form. Now, I do have a theory. When I first set up this camera and I didn't update the firmware yet, this camera was working. And it was only 15, 20 minutes because I always update firmware right away. But it sure was working better than any time after I updated the firmware. So I'm hoping it's just a huge mess and a huge worthless piece of firmware that's going on here. And Foscam, maybe you can fix it. I'm going to keep this camera in my closet. I won't throw it away. And I'll work with you because you've been so nice. And I'll test it again. And if you can fix it with firmware, I'm your guy to try it. And I'll come back and do a short or whatever I need to do and say you fixed it. But right now, do not buy this camera. Do not. What do you think? Have you tried Foscam? Do they have a product that I should try that you love? I'd love to give them a third chance because they were so nice. Please let me know in the comments. But yeah, this one's a no-go, man. Is there another Wi-Fi camera out there I should be testing? Please, I want to find that perfect one, and I'd love to try it. If you got a good suggestion for me, let me have it. All right, to all my past, present, future subscribers, I love you all. I appreciate the support from the bottom of my heart. And till the next video, peace and love.